Well, hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Well Health Show. I'm Dr. Ben. Today we're going to talk about what are the top 3 things that I would recommend for every patient if they were to reverse the clock 30 years and do it again. For some of y'all, this is going to be like 50 years and do it again, but by far, these are the same things we see over and over and over again in our office. Last week I had the opportunity to adjust in our Murfreesboro clinic, and it was interesting to see it all over again right in my face. So without any further ado, let's get started. Number 1 is going to be reversing and restoring ligament injuries. I think everybody should have a corrective chiropractic program that starts when you're a kid. Dr. Ben, you're a chiropractor. I knew you were going to say that. Dead serious. I mean, this is literally what I say. So I'm going to talk about 2 patients today. I'm going to tell you right now, they're real patients. I'm going to change their names. Okay. So real patients change their names. I saw this last week. Well, 2 weeks ago, I guess. So here's the deal. So patient came in, patient number 1, 76 years old, a woman, we're going to call her Susie. So Susie came in, 76 years old, chronic pain all over her body, fibromyalgia, pain everywhere. But she's a sweet, sweet, sweet little Christian lady. She heard me on the radio and she said, Dr. Ben, I just need help. She said, I don't like to complain. I don't like to take medications. I do things healthy. She's a master gardener, like really amazing, sweet little lady. However, now she's retired. She's got all this time on her hands. She's 77 years old and she feels terrible. So we shoot a set of x-rays and what do you think we find? First and foremost, I see arthritis all over her spine. This is the number one thing that the medical system is doing a disservice to you and your kids, is because they don't talk about the importance of having ligament stability in your spine, very specifically in your neck and in your low back. Those are the 2 big areas by far that we see it. And so what happened with this particular patient, we're going to call her Susie. That's not her name. We're going to call her Susie, is that she had massive torn ligaments in her neck. And these ligaments are going to her thyroid, which is our master hormone control. They're going to go to arms, shoulders, hands, heart, and lungs. And as well as she had a big pinched nerve in her low back. So she literally had to adjust. She's like, I just have this pain in my side right here, pain in my side. So of course I'm looking in there and this isn't something, this is definitely musculoskeletal. This wasn't like, she had kidney stones or something like that. She's been going, to doctors forever and ever and ever. And this is the first time she made it to a chiropractor. By the way, a corrective chiropractor who shoots x-rays and then does ligament stability protocols. So this is what we did with Susie, and shot some x-rays, and she said, oh man, that's just bad. I said, listen, you've got a 50-year-old injury in your spine, 50. She's 77. And I'm like, well, what did you do? And she was just like, I don't know. Oh yeah, I was T-boned in my 20s. Well, she got T-boned in her 20s. She ripped the ligament in her neck and her body started developing arthritis. Now, some of you are like, Dr. Ben, that's not how it works. Arthritis is going to be because it runs my family. Right? That's not true. And that's a big old fat farce. And quite frankly, this is the thing that's destroying so many of our elderly right now. By the way, I happen to have my spine right here. Greatest chiropractor in the world is spine. Okay, so how does it work? Your body has these bones. You have 24 bones from the base of your skull to the base of, or to the top of your sacrum. You have 24 movable vertebrae in your spine. So what happens is that between these bones, what holds these bones together is going to be your ligaments. Okay, your ligaments, your discs are between the bones, your ligaments are surrounding your bones, and your spinal cord runs down in the middle. Well, your brain doesn't just work by like Wi-Fi or Bluetooth signal or hopes and dreams and unicorn fairies and dust. Right? How your brain gets your heart to work is the message goes from your brain, old school wire, right, called a nerve, from the brain, down the spinal cord, out the nerve to the heart. Okay, so as long as your nerve is unpinched going to your heart's working great, thyroid's working great, your body's running the way that it's supposed to. And I believe with all of my heart, and by the way, doing this for 20 years, I've seen over 10,000 x-rays personally myself. Holy smokes, we've got 15 clinics. I mean, I've seen a lot of x-rays. Is by far we see the same thing over and over again. And that's these old repetitive whiplashes that have never been fixed. And what I mean by never been fixed is when you have a whiplash, you wind up ripping these ligaments. And then when the ligament is ripped, your body can no longer stabilize the bone. So what your body uses to stabilize the bone is actually going to be your muscles. I'll put the spine down so you can see this. Your muscles wind up when your ligaments job is supposed to stabilize, if your ligaments can't stabilize, then your muscles have to stabilize. When your muscles stabilize, it's going to lock these muscles down like this, and your neck is going to be stiff. And if your muscles have to stabilize all day long, at the end of the day, what are you going to feel like? Right? Your neck's going to be stiff and sore and tired. It's going to be tired at the end of the day. Your muscles have been doing the job of ligaments because the ligaments can't do their job anymore because they got ripped. So when your ligament gets ripped, muscles do the job. Muscles get worn out, stiff neck, soreness. You get these tension, knots, and all the things. But what does your body do? Your body can't just like magically lay down new ligament. That's not how it works. So what your body can do is it lays down new bone. Yeah, new bone. When your body lays down new bone, that's called arthritis. Right? And what we see on x-ray, I've got a bunch of videos of this, by the way, we'll put over top of here. So you can see that these bones will actually come forward. It looks like little bird beaks, and they spike forward. And what that does is basically increases the surface area of your particularly vertebral bodies, so that your bodies are no longer unstable. Because remember this, by the way, the most valuable thing that God put inside of your body to protect your health is a bony skull to protect your brains, bony vertebra to protect your spinal cord, because if there's a damage there, you die. And then all of these ligaments and mechanoreceptors, neurons inside of your spinal cord to make sure you don't get dislocated. Because if your spinal cord gets dislocated, what happens to you? You die, right? You die faster than if you got poisoned. You die faster than if you got malaria. You die faster than, I don't know, maybe get shot. That killed pretty quick. But it would be at least as quick as you getting shot directly to the heart. Does that make sense? Because your body cannot dislocate its spinal cord. It's that important. So because the ligaments get torn, your body starts to lay down bone. That bone's called arthritis. It is a ticking clock. That's it. Arthritis has nothing to do with how old you are. It only has to do with how old your injuries are. Let me say that one more time. Arthritis has nothing to do with how old you are. It only has to do with how old your injuries are. So when you've had an injury, you've started the clock on arthritis. And when you start the clock on arthritis, it's like, I like to say this with patients with your discs. It's like your gas tank. Okay. So if you've ever driven a car like me, doesn't it feel like the first half of your gas tank like takes a while, but then once you're like half a tank and down, it's like all of a sudden it's like, it just burns gas twice as fast. Well, that's how your discs are. So when you start chewing up your discs with arthritis because your ligaments are unstable, now your disc starts wearing out. And you like the first 50% takes a long time, and then it goes quick. And we see this in our 50s, 60s, and 70s where patients will come into our office and they're like, it just kind of went quick here. Because remember, when you lose your disc height, the arthritis sets in, you're also going to be smashing the nerve. So you're going to see rapidly increase in the amount of pressure on the nerves going to your organs, and you're going to see a rapid decrease in the function of those organs. Okay. So this is such a big deal. And this is what happened to Susie, right? 77 years old, massive torn ligaments in her neck and her low back. We started adjusting her. By the way, and you think, oh, all hope is lost. 50 years of degeneration. Well, she came in and I only got to adjust her about 3 or 4 times because I was there for a week and a half. And I adjusted her 3 or 4 times. And literally she told me, she said, I'm doing better. It's like, how do you feel, Susie? How do you feel? And by the way, the thing that we do at Well Health and Chiropractic, that I'm just super proud of it. It's part of why we do this podcast and radio shows, is because I've developed a company. We've got 15 locations today. Our goal is 1,000, where we do the thing. We do the thing, right? What are you going to do about it? We're the what are you going to do about it office. And quite frankly, we see this a lot with our elderly, is that everyone wants to touch them with kid gloves. And nobody wants to actually do the thing. Well, I did the thing. And what I mean by that is I adjusted her, I smashed on her back, I put her on her side, twisted her. Now, you hear me say that, you're like, you smashed on her back and you twisted her? Well, it sounds worse than it is. I've got some video, so let me show you. All right? This is what it looks like to be adjusted. And you might think to yourself, boy, I'm 77 years old. I can't handle that. Well, I adjust my 96-year-old grandmother in the same way. Now, it's all gentle and it's light and it's safe. Safest profession in the world. Oh, Dr. Ben, chiropractic is so dangerous and people die. They do not die. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you how I can prove it to you. Malpractice insurance. Ask any pediatrician. The average pediatric malpractice insurance is between $80,000 and $140,000 a year just for insurance because people die. As far as medical or chiropractors, guess how much my insurance was last year? It's like $2,000, maybe even less. $2,000 because chiropractors, it's the safest profession on planet Earth. Yeah, and I challenge you to go look at the statistics. People aren't just dropping off from flies from chiropractic adjustments. It's not true. They are dropping like flies from medications. Right? From potential other treatments that we're seeing lots of problems with. But as far as chiropractic adjustments are concerned, research does not support that chiropractic is an unhealthy thing at all. It's super, super safe. Okay. So with Susie, I adjusted her, I did the thing, and she started feeling better. Second patient I want to talk about is, I'm describe switching here. I almost said her real name. I'd have got myself in big trouble. We're going to call her Bridget, right? So Bridget came in. Bridget cracked me up. Bridget was saucy, and she came in and she just had a lot of pain, man. And it was really fun. She was probably one of my favorite people that I adjusted for the week, because she was a little saucy coming in. And I asked her, where she's filling out her paperwork. I said, "Have you been to chiropractor before?" And she said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, how was your experience?" Because I always want to know, was it good, bad, different? I don't know. Like, I'm going to give you the best experience I can, but I'd like to know, if there's anything that just really stuck out that you didn't like. And she said, "Oh, it was terrible." I said, "Why was it terrible?" She said, "Well, because the chiropractor wanted me to go once a week." I said, "Well, my office, we sometimes go 3 times a week. We have like a 90-day intensive program. That is our most common one to fix ligaments. However, we also have once a week, every other week, or once a month." I said, "And honestly, Bridget, in our office, it's like Burger King. You can have it your way." And she said, "Okay." And we got a little joke out of that. I said, but we brought her back and going through her exam, ridiculous amount of pain. She can't walk more than 10 minutes. She has apparently she has a sweet little dog. And I started asking these questions. I'm like, so you're in a lot of pain, just so used to hearing people in pain these days. And I said, "What is it stopping you from doing?" And she said, "Well, I've got a little dog that I can't walk 10 minutes. And I said, "So you're concerned that your dog's going to get fat?" She said, "Yeah." She said, "My dog is bored. He's fat. I can't barely walk him 10 minutes. She wasn't married, by the way. Like, this is her family." So I'm starting to get a picture. I mean, I feel like as doctors, the most important thing that I can do when I go into an exam is to take my shoes off and step into their shoes as I go into the room. So I stepped into her shoes and I walked in the room and I'm like, okay, so I'm 77 years old. I can't walk for 10 minutes, retired, single, I have a dog, and my life is kind of not that awesome right now. You know what I'm saying? And well, what would I want somebody to tell me? Like, how would I want somebody to treat me? And the answer is that I want somebody to just flat out fix me. Tell me how it is, get it done, do the thing. Don't sugarcoat it. Don't pander to my feelings. Don't sell me something. Just like, tell me what I need and then let me do it. Okay. Or do it to me. Right. So that's exactly what we do with Bridget. 77 years old. This was super fun, by the way. I should have saved this drawing I did because she had 20 years ago fell off a horse, broke her L2 and her lumbar spine, which that was a big issue. Obviously, that's because of breaking that bone. She never got any ligaments healed back up, so she got big old arthritis hanging off there. Lots of decreased range of motion, not good. Because of that, she gained a little bit of weight, and you could just see that her body just was not doing great. So brought her in, and she was shot. Well, sorry. Before I shot her X-rays, I said, "Oh man, your neck's going to be a mess." And she was like, "No, my neck is great." She was like doing one of these, like, "My neck's great. I don't know what you're talking about." I was like, "How long have you been riding horses for?" She's like, "I've been riding horses since I was a little girl." I said, "Oh yeah, your neck's a mess." She said, "How do you know that?" I said, "Bridget, I've been doing this for 20 years. I said, I know the injuries. I know what happens, horses, all the things. And horses are one of the worst." And so I said, "As a matter of fact, I'm so confident. Let me show you what this is going to look like." So I took my piece of paper, I flipped over the exam form, and I drew what a normal neck looks like. And then I drew what hers is going to look like with the spikes with arthritis. I said, "This is what we're going to see." I said, up top here, we're going to see a flat spot, probably going to see some arthritis. And then the second, so down here in the lower part of your neck, we're going to see massive arthritis. You're probably going to have about maybe 25, 30% of your disc left. If you're 77 years old, you've been riding horses for your whole life. First of all, you don't ride a horse without falling off a horse. Ask any horse person. And this is what we're going to see. And she was like, she was saucy. It was fun. We'll see about that. So I shot her X-rays and I said, "Bridget, here we go." I actually took her, I flipped the exam form over. I put it right next to the X-rays. I said, "There it is." And she said, "You have got to be kidding me." I said, "You're exactly right." So these are old injuries. Degenerated this disc. You've had these massive injuries. Your ligaments are unstable. You've developed arthritis. And because of that arthritis, now your body can't move. So what are we going to do about it? And by the way, this is what I absolutely love about our clinics. If you live anywhere near our clinics, we've got 2 down in Florida. We've got a bunch bunch in Middle Tennessee at this time. Our goal is 1,000 clinics. Go to wellhealthcenters.com, make an appointment and come in, because here's what we do, right? So with both of these patients, I said, I get to do something to you that nobody else gets to do. Number one is I've seen your x-rays, so I'm going to do a powerful chiropractic adjustment. I'm not going to do some mamby-pamby, like act like you're a granny and we're not going to do anything about it. No. I'm going to do the thing. I'm going to do it gentle. I'm going to do it safe. I've been doing this for my 20 years, we've never broken anybody in half. That's just not how it works. I said, but what I am going to do is I'm going to move these vertebrae so we can increase the range of motion. We're going to put you on our ligament corrective protocols, and we're going to restabilize your spine so that your spine will stop developing this arthritis and your spine will be stable again. A stable spine is a happy spine. And anyway, she said, well, we'll see about that. I said, here's the other thing that we're going to do for you today. And this, by the way, is a game changer. I'm not going to go into it too much right now, but we have full body red light therapy. So in 2016, there was a study with braces. Ready for this? If you have braces and you do 3.5 minutes one time per day with red light therapy, very specific frequencies of red light therapy. If you do that 3.5 minutes one time per day, it reduced the time to need braces from 104 days, ready for this, to 48 days. From 104 days to 48 days with less pain. Why? Because that red light therapy increases it speeds up the healing inside of the tissue level in your teeth. So it's incredible. So for both of these ladies, I was able to adjust them and then put them on the full body red light therapy bed, which sucks out the inflammation, helps their body increase healing so that it didn't hurt them after the adjustment. Fun fact, by the last time I got to adjust Bridget, I said, well, how is it? And she said, I'm feeling better. Pain's gone. I said, that's great. She said, now I'm not fixed. She said, but I was able to walk my dog for 20 minutes instead of 10 with no pain. Super fun. And how we did it, by the way, with Bridget, I adjusted her. She was like letting out groans, like, oh, when I'm adjusting her. And I said, Bridget, here's the thing. I'm just going to do the thing that nobody else is willing to do. And she looked at me with trust, because I did it with confidence, and I put her on her side. It took longer to get her on her side than it did to do the adjustment. The adjustment's quick and quite frankly pretty easy, but she wasn't used to being manhandled. And I did it, and I did the thing. And it's funny because actually after the first adjustment, I adjusted her and I was replacing the face paper. I'd already sat her up and she stood up. I said, how you feel after that adjustment? And I just kind of been patting, like fixing this face paper. And she said, I just stood up without pain. And that's after literally the first adjustment. This is incredible. I said, if that's how you're going to feel after one adjustment, imagine how it's going to feel after a 90-day corrective program. And she was elated. And by the last day, she was already doing better and being able to walk her dog more, and God is good. But if I could rewind the clock, what would I tell these ladies? I would say, listen, you've got to get adjusted. So two things. Number one is you need to correct your kids' spines, right? All of your kids get messed up. All of our kids wreck your bikes, fall down the stairs. You're 2 years old learning to walk, you ram into stuff. We all have ligament injuries. You got to get those corrected at the youngest age possible. After that, going through your life, anytime you tear a ligament, you've had a major ligament event, whether that's, wiped out water skiing, maybe that's a car wreck, maybe it's whatever, slipped on the ice, you need to go get an x-ray and get your spine recorrected. Right. And now, again, some of y'all that are on maintenance programs, that takes care of that correction. So if you're on a maintenance program getting real consistent care, you might need to get adjusted a couple more times in there. But if you're really getting consistent ligament corrective care, then you're going to be good. But you need to get these ligaments corrected, because if you don't, arthritis is coming whether you like it or not. Okay, so that's the story about. The second thing, by the way, that I recommend for every patient that comes to our office is understanding, monitoring, and decreasing your body's systemic inflammation. How do you do that? You decrease your seed oils and you increase your omega-3s. That's why we sell a product in our office. We sell the best fish oil. Dr. Ben, I take fish oil. If it's Costco, Walmart, CVS, if it's under $40, it's trash. Dr. Ben, you can't say that. I can say that because I've done all the research and it's trash. Your body needs these omega-3s. We live in a culture where it's almost all omega-6. That's going to be your fried food, your seed oils, your canola oils, your peanut oils. Like these things are all going to increase and spike our inflammation. Our grain-fed cows, that spikes our inflammation. The only way to combat that is going to be supplementing high healthy doses of omega-3. Now, Dr. Ben, I got this one fish oil. It's got like 20 times more omega-3 than everything else. Well, that's not how your cells are supposed to take it up. We sell a fish oil in our office that you have to come into our office to get it. We don't sell it online. But you come into the office, I want to say it's like $55, but it is the perfect supplement. It is the thing that actually your cells can fully pull in. It will decrease your inflammation like 1-for-1. As a matter of fact, we recommend to our patients, like you start taking this, you're going to notice a difference this afternoon, right? Tomorrow, you're going to notice a difference because it absolutely decreases your inflammation. And that is the second most powerful thing that I would tell our patients. What was the third thing? The third thing was exercise, right? Right. The third and final thing that I recommend for all of our patients, if we could reverse the clock, and some people do an okay job with this, but that is going to be understanding and mastering the discipline of daily movement. And that's going to be exercise, right? You've got to learn how your body moves to keep yourself limber and keep yourself exercised. I can't tell you how many people come to our office and they've already gained, 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 pounds. It's hard to pull off 100 pounds. If you can just master the ability to keep your body moving, even if you put on 30 pounds, 30 is pretty easy to lose, but it's when we get these sedentary phases where you go through a period of 1, 5, 10, 20 years where you really just don't work out. So I think honestly, that's my secret if you wanted me to be personal about it. So I'm 43. I'm very low fat. You can see I've actually got a six-pack underneath it here somewhere. That's right, ladies. I was the only one lady I'm trying to impress, my beautiful bride. Of course, I do want my boys to understand what it means to be fit. However, my secret is not, I don't go to the gym and bust giant weights. Like, I'm actually not great when it comes to the gym. Most people can lift more weights than me. The difference is I just don't stop. I keep doing it. And because of that, my body has settled into this equilibrium of healthy weight. And that's from daily movement. And that even helps when I go on vacation. Like I got to get up and move. Like my wife and I, we love it. We go for walks. We've encouraged with our kids. Our kids walk like we do and run. I run a couple times a week. I'll go run a 5K, and it's not because something special about me. As a matter of fact, there's absolutely nothing special about me except for the fact that I've incorporated some of these disciplines that I'm really grateful that I did. So let me recap to the top. There's 3 things that I recommend. If you could reverse the clock 30 years, what do? Number 1 is you've got to stay ahead of your ligament injuries in your spine. That is both when you're a child and when they come later in life. T-bones, car accidents, sports injuries, you name it. Number 2, understanding the role of inflammation in your body and how you can reduce it. You need to reduce your daily inflammation in your body. Number 3 is making sure, right? Number 3, what is it? I keep forgetting the third one. Number 3 is mastering, right? Number 3 is mastering the discipline of daily movement, making sure that you're getting exercise in. Even if you don't go to the gym, you still need to go for a walk. You have to move every single day. That's how God designed our bodies. If you could reverse the clock and you could do those 3 things, you're going to wake up at 75 years old and you're going to be able to whip your kids in tennis and your grandkids in tennis, which happens to be my goal. I want to whip my grandkids when I'm 80. Don't even really play tennis. However, I'm going to take up tennis and then I'm going to make sure that they teach them tennis, and then I'm going to whip them in tennis when I'm 80. But that's because I'm going to do these 3 disciplines the best that I got. Guys, this has been this week's episode of the Well Health Show. I'm Dr. Ben. Catch you next week.